They told me I was invisible, like I didn't exist. But what they didn't know was how loud silence can scream. Emily's voice cracked with a mix of pain and defiance as she stared out into the cold night. Her eyes, raw and haunted, reflected years of battles, fought in shadows, battles that no one saw, battles that left scars deeper than skin. Holding her baby close, she felt the weight of the world crushing her chest, a relentless storm of fear, shame, and desperation swirling inside. Every step outside their makeshift refuge was a gamble with fate. Every glance from strangers felt like a judge's verdict. But tonight something was different. Tonight a flicker of hope dared to break through the darkness. Emily's trembling lips parted again. "If you stay with me, I promise you'll witness a miracle, a fight so fierce it will tear down walls built by pain." The truth behind her words was about to shatter everything you thought you knew. Stay with me, because what happens next will shock you, break your heart, and maybe, just maybe, change your life forever. The chilly December winds sliced through the streets of downtown Chicago, rattling windows and seeping through cracks in forgotten doorways. Inside a modest corner store tucked between shuttered shops, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. The air smelled faintly of stale coffee and dust, but what caught everyone's attention was a small, trembling voice cutting through the hum of the late afternoon rush. "I promise to pay when I grow up." It was Lily Morgan's voice. Barely 8 years old, with tangled curls pulled back into uneven puffs, dirt-streaked hands clutching a tattered blanket wrapped tightly around a baby. Her jeans were ripped at the knees and her threadbare shirt hung loosely over her thin frame. The baby, her younger brother Noah, whimpered softly, shivering in the cold. The store seemed to fall into a strange silence as those words lingered in the air, an innocent pledge weighed down by hardship. Customers paused mid-step, the cashier stopped scanning items, and above them the security camera hummed quietly. Michael Bennett, a man known in business circles as the silent billionaire, stood near the checkout, distracted by the call on his phone. At 55, his hair was peppered with gray, and his sharp suit made him seem almost untouchable, like someone who owned the very air around him. Yet the whispered promise of a little girl had cleaved through the noise of his busy mind, pulling his gaze toward the fragile figure in the corner. Lily held Noah tighter as the cashier's voice cracked sharply. "This isn't a daycare. You need to leave." Her shoulders jerked, not with fear, but humiliation. She slowly turned to leave her small frame, trembling, her eyes cast downward. Michael's gaze hardened. He stepped forward, voice calm but resolute. "She's not stealing anything," he said firmly. The cashier's scowl deepened, but Michael's presence silenced her. "She doesn't belong here," the cashier protested. "I'll be the judge of that," Michael replied, eyes scanning the gathering crowd. Whispers swirled around them. One man muttered, "That's the girl who sleeps under the Maple Street Bridge." Another added, "I heard her dad's locked up and her mom, well, she's not all there." Michael knelt beside Lily, who was frozen near the baby formula aisle. "What's your name, Lily?" she whispered, not meeting his eyes. "And the baby Noah." "He's one." The weight of the moment pressed against Michael's chest as he took in the ragged siblings, standing alone in the cold, battling a world that seemed to have forgotten them. "You walked here in this weather?" he asked gently. Lily nodded. "We ran out of milk yesterday. Noah cries all night. I waited until Mom fell asleep to sneak out. She gets scared sometimes." Michael's mind raced. A meeting with investors awaited him at his office, a deal that could launch his tech empire to new heights. But here was a child showing more courage than most adults he knew. What do you do when life demands everything from a child, he thought. He scanned the store, then made a decision. "We're buying more than milk today," he said, pulling a gallon of milk, infant formula, bread diapers, and even thermal socks off the shelves. Eyes followed him, some curious, others judgmental, as he loaded the cart. At checkout, Lily's hands trembled as she placed the milk on the counter, her voice barely audible. "Thank you, sir. I really will pay you back when I grow up." "I mean it," Michael smiled softly. "I don't doubt you for a second." Outside, the wind roared louder, biting into their skin. "Where are you staying?" he asked. Lily hesitated. "Under the bridge at Maple and Pine. There's a dry corner behind a pipe. I keep Noah warm with newspaper. We try to stay hidden." A woman nearby gasped quietly. Michael turned but caught only the shadow of shame on her face. "Do you want me to walk you back?" he offered. Lily hesitated again. "People yell at me when they see me with Noah. But you can come if you want. Just don't talk too loud. Mom gets scared." As they walked, Michael felt the burden of responsibility settling on his shoulders, a weight no amount of wealth could lift. Lily's teeth chattered silently. Michael removed his wool coat and wrapped it around her, feeling her surprise, but no resistance. The city's noise faded as they approached the bridge. Beneath the overpass, the smell of oil mixed with damp concrete and trash. There, lying curled on a pile of blankets, was Emily Morgan Lilly and Noah's mother. Her eyes were wild and unfocused, but when Lily called gently, "Mom, it's just me and a man," he helped as Emily's features softened, haunted but momentarily calm. Michael stood back, respecting the fragile piece. "She was just trying to get help," he said softly. Emily said nothing. Lily handed Noah to her mother and turned to Michael. "You can go now. We'll be okay. I just needed the milk." But Michael didn't move. "Lily, I want to come back tomorrow." "Would that be all right?" Lily tilted her head, confused but honest. Why Michael hesitated, then answered with a clarity he hadn't felt in years. "Because someone should." That night, Michael lay awake in his sleek penthouse apartment, the city lights flickering below like restless stars. Somewhere beneath the roar of the freeway, a little girl hummed softly to a baby wrapped in a billionaire's coat. But Michael's mind was far from the comforts of wealth. The call he had ignored earlier replayed in his thoughts. The deal was huge, a game changer for his company. Yet here he was, standing in the cold with two children whose survival depended on a stranger's kindness. The next morning, Michael returned to the Maple Street Bridge. The cold air bit harder, but his resolve only deepened. He found Lily curled up on a flattened cardboard box, Noah pressed to her chest like a heartbeat. As Michael approached, Lily's eyes snapped open, wary like a small animal. "You came back," she said, voice hoarse. "I said I would." "Noah hadn't cried much last night," Lily whispered. The milk helped. Michael offered a thermos filled with hot cocoa. Lily's eyes lit up with disbelief as she sipped, sighing with a peace she hadn't known in weeks. Suddenly, a rustle behind a plastic sheet made Michael tense. Emily emerged slowly, her body taut with suspicion. "You again," she muttered. Michael held up the bag of food. "Just breakfast. No strings attached." Emily snorted, dismissive. "Rich folks always think food fixes things." Michael shook his head. "It helps." Emily's eyes flashed with distrust. "You don't know this life." "I want to try," Michael said. Between them was a fragile truce, broken only by years of pain. Lily interrupted, "Mom, he talks to me like a real person, not like the shelters." Michael stayed silent, letting the words sink. Emily softened, but the shadow of fear lingered. That day, Michael made a choice. He wasn't just a businessman anymore. He was a protector, but danger lurked. Jason Reed, the man who once haunted Emily's past, had resurfaced. Rumors swirled that he was back in town looking for his family. Michael knew this threat would change everything. He would have to decide how far he was willing to go. To everyone watching, thank you for your patience as we pause here. The story of Lily, Emily, and Michael is just beginning, and the challenges ahead will test them in ways they never imagined. What would you do if you had to choose between a career that could change your life and a chance to save a family on the edge? Would you risk everything for the unknown? If this story has touched you, please leave a like and a heart. Your support means the world as we continue this journey together. The dim light of the motel room cast long shadows across the peeling wallpaper. It wasn't much, just a few worn pieces of furniture, a flickering heater, and the faint scent of disinfectant. But for Lily Morgan and her brother Noah, it was the warmest shelter they'd known in months. Emily Morgan sat on the edge of the bed, her gaze fixed on the floor, hands trembling slightly as she rocked Noah in her arms. The years of hardship weighed on her shoulders like an unbearable silence. She hadn't spoken much since Michael Bennett had brought them here, offering a momentary reprieve from the biting cold of the streets. Lily sat close by, brushing a lock of hair from her mother's face, her own eyes wide with the cautious hope of a child who'd learned to expect the worst. Michael stood near the doorway, watching them. Inside him, the thrill of success, the deals, the boardrooms. The relentless pace of his life felt suddenly distant and hollow. This cramped motel room had become a battlefield of a different kind. He remembered the faces of the investors he'd left behind that morning, the conference calls that would be missed, the emails that piled up unanswered, the weight of expectation from a world that demanded results. Yet here was a mother broken but fierce. Here were two children clinging to the thin threads of survival. Michael's heart hammered with the conflict tearing at him. How far could he go? What was he willing to risk? Emily's voice broke the silence, hoarse and guarded. "You don't have to do this," she said, eyes flickering with distrust. "We're not your problem." Michael stepped forward, his voice steady but kind. "I'm not here because I have to be. I'm here because I want to be." Lily reached up, clutching his sleeve. "Please don't leave." That simple plea cracked something open inside him. But the calm of the moment was shattered by the distant echo of footsteps, a sound that sent a cold spike through Michael's gut. Jason Reed was coming. The man's reputation preceded him, violent, unpredictable, and dangerous. Emily's past was not just a story, it was a shadow creeping closer. Michael's mind raced. He had prepared for boardroom battles, but nothing could prepare him for the storm he was about to face. He whispered to himself, "This isn't just about money anymore. It's about survival." Later that night, the small motel room became a fortress of whispered fears. Emily paced, clutching Noah, every creak outside making her flinch. Lily sat huddled under a blanket, eyes heavy but alert. Michael sat nearby, calculating every scenario, every escape route. The sound of the door handle rattling sent all three hearts pounding in unison. Michael rose swiftly, blocking the doorway, just as it cracked open. Jason Reed stepped in, a tall, lean figure with a menacing smirk that didn't reach his cold eyes. "Emily!" he growled, voice low and dangerous. Emily's back straightened, defiance flashing in her eyes despite the terror lurking beneath. "You're not welcome here," Michael said, stepping forward, shielding the children. Jason laughed bitterly. "Looks like you've taken my family under your wing." "How sweet." The air grew thick with tension. Jason's gaze flicked between Michael and the children, a silent threat hanging like a storm about to break. Michael felt a surge of protective fury. He squared his shoulders. "This ends now. You step out or I call the cops." Jason's eyes narrowed. "You think your money scares me?" "No," Michael said calmly, "but my resolve will." For a tense moment, neither moved. Then with a sneer, Jason stepped back and spat on the floor. "This isn't over." He turned and disappeared into the night, leaving behind a charged silence. The adrenaline faded, leaving a raw ache inside Michael's chest. He turned to Emily, who had been silently trembling. "Are you okay?" She shook her head, tears threatening to spill. "I'm scared." Michael knelt beside her, taking her hand gently. "Fear is a weight, but it doesn't have to break you." Lily approached, brushing away a tear on her mother's cheek. "Mom, we're safe here. We have him now." Emily looked up, hope flickering faintly. Days passed, but the shadow of Jason Reed loomed. Michael brought food, blankets, and small gifts, attempts to weave a fragile tapestry of normalcy. Emily accepted the help, but her walls were thick, her trust a fortress. One afternoon, Michael invited her to join a community program designed to help women rebuild their lives. Emily hesitated. "I don't want charity." Michael smiled softly. "It's not charity. It's a chance." Her eyes searched his. "What if I fail? You won't," he promised. "Not alone." That night, Emily lay awake, the past crashing like waves against the fragile shores of her newfound hope. The memory of Jason's glare haunted her. Her heart ached with the weight of motherhood, the need to protect, to survive, to rebuild. Michael sat silently nearby, watching her struggle, knowing the fight was far from over. Then came the breaking point. One bitter evening, Michael found Emily trying to pack her things, determination mixed with fear. "I can't stay," she whispered. "If he finds us here, it's over." Michael's voice was firm but tender. "You don't have to run." Her eyes locked with his. "Then help me fight." The decision hung heavy between them, the choice between fleeing into the shadows or standing firm against the storm. For Michael, the battle was no longer just about protecting a family. It was about confronting his own fears. Could he be the hero they needed, or would the weight of the world crush them all? As he prepared to face the darkness ahead, Michael vowed one thing: he would not let them fall. Thank you for sticking with us through this part of the story. The journey of Lily, Emily, and Michael is filled with tough choices and fierce courage. What would you do if faced with a threat that puts your family's safety at risk? Would you run or stand and fight? If this story has moved you, please hit the like button and leave a heart. Your support means everything as we continue to share this powerful journey. Would you like to see how Michael and Emily confront the next wave of challenges? Let me know in the comments. The long, cold nights that once swallowed Emily Morgan's world were finally giving way to something softer, something like hope. The battered safe house, nestled in a quiet suburb, was far from the sleek penthouse Michael Bennett once called his sanctuary, but here amidst the simple walls and gentle laughter of Lily and baby Noah, a new chapter was unfolding. Emily sat by the kitchen window, cradling a warm cup of tea, the morning sunlight filtering through the curtains and casting golden pools on the table. The weight she had carried for so long, the fear, the pain, the constant watchfulness, had not vanished overnight, but it no longer ruled her. Michael stood nearby, watching her with quiet admiration. The strength it took to rebuild wasn't found in grand gestures or flashy deals. It was in moments like this: a shared silence, a breath of peace, a fragile smile. Lily was at the kitchen counter, coloring furiously in her notebook, determined strokes bringing to life the images in her bright mind. "What are you drawing, sweetheart?" Michael asked, kneeling down beside her. "A house," she said without hesitation. "Our house." Michael smiled, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. "A home is more than just walls, Lily. It's a place where you feel safe, where love fills every corner." She looked up, eyes shining. "I think we're finally home." The arrest of Jason Reed, the shadow that had loomed over Emily's past, felt like a distant thunder finally passing. Emily received the call one crisp morning. The news was simple but monumental. Jason was in custody, facing charges that promised a chance at justice. Relief washed over her in waves, and for the first time, tears came unbidden, not of fear, but of release. Michael squeezed her hand gently. "You're safe now. This chapter is closing." But true safety was more than just the absence of threat. It was the presence of healing, of rebuilding. The days that followed were filled with quiet progress. Emily began attending therapy sessions and joined a local support group for survivors of domestic abuse. Each meeting chipped away at the walls she had built, allowing light to seep in. Michael helped her find job training programs, and he enrolled Lily in school, buying books and backpacks to mark a new beginning. Noah's first birthday arrived, quietly celebrated with a simple cake and warm smiles. The echoes of the past remained, but so did the promise of the future. One evening, as the sky faded from soft pink to deep indigo, Emily and Michael sat together on the porch, the cool air wrapping around them like a balm. Emily's voice was soft but sure. "You didn't just save us, Michael. You helped me find myself again." Michael shook his head, his gaze steady. "You found yourself. I just reminded you that you never lost who you were." Lily ran up, holding a handmade card covered in glitter and crayon hearts. "Mom, we made this for you." Emily took it, overwhelmed. "Thank you, Lily. It means everything." The road to healing wasn't linear. There were moments when the past threatened to pull her back, flashbacks, sleepless nights, the heavy silence between words. But Emily faced them all, one breath at a time, supported by Michael's steady presence and Lily's fierce love. She began to write letters she never sent, pouring out her fears and hopes onto paper, stitching together the fragments of her soul. Lily's drawings blossomed, each one a testament to resilience and imagination. Michael balanced his business world with a new mission, advocating for families like theirs, proving that success could be measured in human hearts, not just numbers. Months later, Emily stood before a crowd at the community center, invited to share her story. Her hands trembled as she opened her notebook, but her voice was clear. "I used to be invisible," she began. "I begged for milk in a convenience store corner, but what I found was a miracle, a chance to become whole." The room was silent, hanging on her every word. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. Tears glistened on many cheeks. Women approached her afterwards, sharing their own stories, their own battles, finding strength in her courage. Emily realized she was not alone, and neither were they. Back home, the family gathered around the dinner table, a simple meal, but filled with warmth and laughter. Lily looked up, eyes wide and curious. "Do you think Mom and Michael will get married someday?" Michael laughed softly, glancing at Emily, who smiled shyly. "That's not up to me," he said. "Maybe it's up to us," Emily added, her voice full of hope. Together they embraced the future, not perfect, but full of promise. As night draped over their little world, the family sat on the porch, watching the stars scatter like silent witnesses. Emily whispered, "For the first time in years, I feel safe, truly safe." Michael squeezed her hand. "We're not just surviving anymore. We're living." Lily squeezed Michael's hand tightly. "Thank you for keeping your promise. This story reminds us that healing is a journey that begins with courage, grows with love, and is sustained by hope. No matter the storms we weather, there is always a light waiting beyond." Thank you for staying with us to the end of this story. I have 2 questions for you. If you were in Michael's shoes, what would you do to protect a family like Emily's? And if you were Emily, what would give you the strength to rebuild after everything? Please share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please comment numbering 3 below. If you feel it could be better, comment no to 1, and if it was just okay, comment no 2. Also, let me know which country you're watching from. Don't forget to like, drop a heart, and share this video with others who might find hope in this story. Thank you for being part of this journey.